It's yours, so you know.
What's going on?
How are you doing, Marcus?
Good, how about you?
Good. You ready for Christmas?
Sure.
That doesn't sound very convincing.
Yeah. Jordan.
Yeah, in there, yeah.
Diane, I didn't ask if are you ready for Christmas?
No.
No?
No.
Got more shopping?
Yes.
Gotcha.
I am in those things. I'm very organized, but when it comes to Christmas, for some reason, I am the biggest procrastinator.
Gotcha.
Hey, Jason, how are you? I'm pretty good. Oh, well, thank you very much.
I thought I was gonna have to bring you to that shop last.
Sarah, man.
Doing well, how are you?
As soon as you're all together, you have time for cards and all that stuff. You had time for cards and all that stuff.
You know, I was gonna mail them earlier in the week, and then when I saw we were meeting tonight, I thought,
Oh, yeah, that's
I'll save this postage and just hand deliver them. And in the spirit of COVID, notice I did not seal the envelopes.
Like a check or a savings bond or something?
There is, yes, yes. Cool. You know, for one day when all of this is over, you can cash it in.
Richmond. Son got his back. He took his attack on Tuesday. So we're hoping to get ours back.
You have to make the results before they let you on the plane or something?
Yeah, they'll let you, I'll let you in, but we just have to sign it. So of course they'll send us back our test electronically. We have to- our resort requires that you have a negative test, and they'll let you check in. So they'll let us in for you. I might not have any place to stay.
Y'all's Christmas present to yourselves.
Yeah,
That's nice.
that's when the kids wanted to do something. My son's always into snorkel. He loves tropical fish. So he loves snorkel. We're working on it. That's what we're doing.
My brother-in-law and his wife for quite a few years. They loved it. I don't think they've done, they haven't, well, they haven't.
Hello.
You all right?
Oh, stupidity. Just judge where the countertop was when I bent down.
No offense.
I've got a cabinet door in the bathroom. When you stand, it's open.
I've done the same thing several times.
Why don't you just keep them up there?
Do what?
Why don't you just keep them up there? Yeah, John, I'll be back.
Hey, George.
Oh, you were beautiful card. I was going to mail it, and then I realized we were sending in tonight. I'm just hand deliver it. Save the stamp for next time.
I wanna go in our card holder on there. Excuse me, table.
Oh, thank you.
Little late. Diana, can I just sign this? Do I just need to sign this one more for you? Come on. Oh, okay. I just saw the, I'm sorry. I said I just saw this here. Yeah, I can't, because I'm sorry, before January 1st. Okay, so I just printed out that. Okay, so, just, you know what, if you can I date it? You know what? Am I not allowed to do that? It's okay. All this stuff, just do the signature pages, just redo the pages. No, no, I can't take it.
Okay, right, that's what, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
All right.
Which is take the signature pages. Once it's signed, they get back to you. But you already got it. All right, yeah.
Thank you. I was trying to do it.
Thank you so much. I'm good for an uneventful.
I think we all are. We're an uneventful decade.
That was me.
Sorry. Oh, I gotta ask you a question after the meeting.
Call a special called meeting of the Bedford County School Board to order. Ms. Johnson, please call the roll.
Mr. Lamy?
Here.
Mrs. Kirby?
Here.
Mrs. Hairston?
Here.
Dr. Hicks?
Here.
Mr. Hill?
Here.
Mr. Johnson?
Here.
Dr. Mealy?
Here.
Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum.
Thank you, ma'am. So I have a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Kirby, second. Second. Second, Mr. Hill, discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Agenda is accepted. Do I have a motion to allow Bedford County Public School sports teams to compete under State of Virginia, Virginia High School League, and Seminole District COVID-19 guidelines without regard to the CDC's table of indicators and thresholds?
So moved.
I have a motion by Ms. Kirby. Do I have a second? Second. Second, Mr. Hill. Discussion. Dr. Francis sent out some, I think it's safe to say that a lot has occurred. There have been many developments regarding school sports in our area since our meeting on Thursday. Dr. Francis sent out some updates to the board, but I understand that there have been some further developments today. So if you wouldn't mind just summarizing what, basically everything that's occurred since last Thursday. I would
All
appreciate
right, a couple things, the Seminole District did vote officially, the principals today, to delay, their, season till, January 4th. And Lynchburg City, just delayed, activities until January 11th. So that's two of the teams in the Seminole District. So that delayed that, but those are the two big, updates. The VHSL Executive Committee did not take any action to change any of the seasons. They left the guidelines in place for the championship +1. Their meeting was this past week with the Executive Committee, and so they had a proposal to move this season to later in January, but that did not take place. They left, basically they said if school divisions would like to move, like the Seminole District did, as a district, they could do that, but they were leaving in place that the first play date would still be December 21st, and that the championship +1 would stay in place, which allows teams that are not competing in the regional play to play one extra game after the regular season ends.
Has there been any change to Blue Ridge District guidelines?
Not to my understanding, the Blue Ridge District still has the VDH metric of orange or red. Dr. Cornett may be able to give any insight if there have been, but I have not received he communicates very quickly with me, so I have not heard of anything so far. So my understanding, they would still be staying with that metric, but of course, the Seminole would not be using the metric.
Okay. I had a question for the ADs who attended the Seminole District meeting that ultimately resulted in the season being slipped back. Was that done to accommodate Bedford County Public Schools, in your opinion? Don't be shy.
So originally, yes, sir. Originally, I believe that it was in large part due to what we were going to do here in Bedford County.
Okay. As far as, do you feel in your opinion that the Seminole District might at some point say, okay, Bedford County, we've tried to accommodate you, but we're moving on? I mean, do you think that we may reach that point?
I think in their latest decision, that's kind of what they've decided with Lynchburg City as well as for what we're doing also.
Gotcha. Does anybody have any questions of Dr. Francis or the ADs?
I do.
Joe?
So, Mr. Francis, Blue Ridge being no change to orange or red, that is only if they are playing teams within the Blue Ridge, correct?
That's correct.
So, Blue Ridge, Stanton River would have opportunities to play other teams outside of that?
Yes, the Blue Ridge has a clause in there that after January 18th, they will, any games before January 18th that were postponed, they would try to move. Anything after January 18th, then, so Stanton River could play other schools. They could schedule Bedford County schools such as Liberty and Jefferson Forest, or, as I said, Seminole District did indicate that they would work to schedule Stanton River in for those games, any games that they could with their members.
Okay, so Stanton River would have the opportunity to play games just like the other two high schools?
Yes, after January 18th, they could start playing other teams such as the Seminole District or private schools.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Ms. Garvey.
can I piggyback off of what Mr. Hill just asked? So if Stanton River can play Seminole District teams and allow them to get more games, when is the tournament scheduled?
I believe it's the 1st of February.
So that basically only gives them 2 weeks.
Yeah,
But how many nights a week are they gonna be playing? 2 nights a week, 3 nights a week?
we talked about that with the ADs and felt like on some sports like basketball, you could probably play 4 games in a week. So that, we had that conversation, if we have to move things back, can we play 4 or 5 games in a week? And so the feeling was that we probably could do that if we
And
needed
would that encompass on a Saturday as well?
to. Yes, you could play on Saturdays.
So Stanton River could potentially have the ability to pick up 8 to 10 extra games?
I talked to one of the ADs in the Seminole, and he said, I guess he does the schedule, he thought 8 games, they could possibly pick up to 8 games.
And what is the average number of games on the condensed COVID schedule?
Oh, it is 60% of 14, so 8 out of the 14, so
It's pretty good.
more than half.
Any other questions? Any additional discussion?
I have a
Dr. Hicks?
statement.
Yes, sir.
I think sports are a valuable and important part of a student's school experience, but I think our primary focus has to be on the student's academic learning experience. Under the circumstances, we've had a relatively successful hybrid instructional model thus far. We cannot jeopardize in-person learning by introducing inter-school athletic competition that may cause student and staff COVID infection and/or quarantine numbers to rise. I believe that allowing competition before VDOH thinks it's safe to do so is irresponsible. Since our unanimous vote last week, there's been a 42% increase in the 14-day total number of positive cases per 100,000 and a 24% increase in the 14-day positivity rate for Bedford County. Just because we want to do something doesn't make that thing safe to do. I encourage everyone in the community to strictly follow the mitigation practices of mask and social distancing that are universally recommended so that our athletes can safely resume competition.
Thanks, sir. Mr. Hill?
I like to talk about facts, and I think it's important. I hear what you're saying, Dr. Hicks. But the three athletic directors that are here, are you guys aware that our athletes are also playing travel sports outside of school? Is that a three head shake? Yes. And so what I would add, we heard last week that our positivity rate was at 1%. Ms. Robertson, is that right, 1%?
1.2% for total population, 2.5 for staff,
Okay.
1 point.
Total population's 1.2%, okay. So, what I wanna make sure we're all aware of, and I've only got 2 examples of travel sports or rec sports that our kids are playing and are going to continue to play. So one of the locations is our FYAA, which is the Forest Youth Association. So far this year, they've had 850 participants. They've had 68 teams, 5 sports, and of those 5 sports, they've played 336 games. 2 positive COVID. Only 1 was a player, and 1 was related to being at the location. So 2 out of 850 participants, that doesn't include coaches, parents, whoever else is on the field. An example come up, well, there were 26 kids quarantined. That's correct, because they followed their safety guidelines. It was 2 teams that were associated with the 2, and so 26 kids, 2 teams with coaches, that's what was quarantined. We're still sitting at a 1.2% positivity rate. In addition to those games that I just mentioned, all of those teams, again, 68 teams, had a minimum of 2 practices per week. All of those kids are either coming back into our schools or they're playing against others that are outside within the area. 1.2% positivity rate. That's one example for 850 participants. Also have statistics, again, facts from Spectrum Sports, which is in one of the red areas. For those that are not familiar with Spectrum, that's located in Roanoke. Athletic directors, I would assume that our kids are playing sports there. Would you all agree? I'm seeing 3 heads shake. So those kids are going to Spectrum and they're playing. Spectrum has hosted 10 tournaments of 40 teams, so approximately 15 players and coaches per team, not a single quarantine. It's all facts. And we're still at a 1.2% positivity rate. Those students or athletes are going to Roanoke, and then they're showing back up to our schools on Monday. They've been around other students who are not just from Bedford County, and we're still sitting at a 1.2 positivity. Again, from my own experience with my kids, we are playing travel ball. We've been in Northern Virginia, we've been in Virginia Beach, we've been in Midlothian, we've been in Greensboro, we've been in Winston-Salem, and we're right back to school. But what I will tell you is we can play sports, and this is why I tell you, we can play sports and do it safely. And we're at a 1.2% positivity.
may I make just a point of clarification? Because I want, for the consumers that are watching, it is not a 1.2 positivity rate because we don't know how many individuals have been tested. 1.2% of our population has tested positive, and that's just a distinction for language because we don't know the numbers.
But you
that have
also don't
actually
know
been
how
tested.
many of those 1.2 are false positives.
No, sir, I just wanted to make sure it
Yeah, well, I
was.
wanna make sure
Sure.
our consumers, as you called them, yeah.
Well, consumers of
So-
this meeting, yes,
So again, 1.2% are the numbers that we have.
yes. And again, just as a point, when we're talking about what places us in the red, it is greater than 200 cases per 100,000. So that math is a number much smaller than 1.2% or 2.5% if we're talking about our staff. So I think understanding the metrics of what CDC or Department of Health considers as a risk category would be important as part of that discussion. Because I don't want the 1.2% to seem trivial or minimal, because that's actually greater than what would be considered high transmission risk.
And that includes false positives though, right?
It includes all positives. Yes.
That could be false.
Could be, yes, sir.
But the matrix that we keep referring to, that is for the whole county and not just for students. Not just for teachers, it's countywide. So
Yes.
that could include a nursing home or a hospital?
What I am saying to you, if you do a percentage population comparison, when you look at the number of positives that our school division has experienced, we don't compare that to 100,000 because we have a known population. So you can gather a percentage of our population, and they are actually I can give you the rates for Bedford, taking out the computation per 100,000. Bedford as a locale, using the census data for its population, is at a 3.2% rate of positive occurrences for their population. So 3.2% of the population of Bedford County has been found to be positive.
But again, that's Bedford County, and that could
Right.
include the nursing homes and the hospitals and any resident, not just students and not just principals and staff and
Right,
people in
and
the
that's
schools.
why I gave those other numbers. If we look at the total population, that is 1.2. If we look at the student population, it is 1.3, 2.5 for staff.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
And I would just follow up and say of those 3.2%, they're all shopping at Walmart, shopping at Kroger, right?
No, some of them have passed away.
Up to 3.2%?
No, that's just the number of individuals who have tested positive.
So I'm not following your comment then. Huh?
Well, an individual that may have tested positive could have passed away from
Could
that
have,
positive,
but they
and
could
they
have
wouldn't be
also
here.
been at Walmart
Sure,
or Lowe's, not in our schools, right? Right?
no.
For now, good.
You know, I too, I've been looking up a lot of stuff, trying to make sense of this. This article really stuck with me. Experts predict a big increase in high school dropouts on the horizon from this year because of kids going hybrid and not being involved in schools. Here's another study showing how much more involved a student athlete is with the school, how they tend to have higher GPAs. Other divisions are able to balance the conflicting needs to play sports and stay safe. Why can't we? Why are we telling these kids no? You know, Mr. Hill made a great point. Kids are out there playing AAU, they're playing travel ball. And I understand now, and correct me if I'm wrong, ADs, please, or principals, that a lot of scholarships are awarded out of AAU. I get that. But these kids that are playing high school ball, a lot of smaller colleges, private schools come and look at them and watch them play. I know myself, I was recruited by Ferrum to play many years ago. In a smaller school, they didn't offer athletic scholarships, but they did pull out financial strings for me to be able to go to school. So these kids that can't afford to be in AAU, they can't afford to be in travel ball, they can't go all around, we're robbing them the chance of being looked at by potential college recruiters. That's not fair. And I've heard this board go round and round about everybody's qualifications to be on this board, and it comes back to me as being a mom. In my world, and Mr. Hill referenced his children, in my world, I have both my children play sports. I've got one that's a soccer player and a tennis player. He won't get on the soccer field. That's his choice. He's COVID cautious. I respect his choice. I've got my daughter is dying to play volleyball. She's got a calendar and counting down the days till she can get to conditioning. I'm going to support her because that's my choice. It's my choice as a parent as to what I want to do with my children. I don't think we should rob kids of any chance whatsoever. We're forcing these kids on some days to stay at home and look at these computers. Think back on your own high school careers. Is the big thing of your high school that you went to class? Or you sat on a computer? What caused you to be involved in that school was your extracurricular activities. There's a big difference between being involved in school and moving on and wanting to do better, giving yourself motivation. If I just went to class, yeah, I would have attended Liberty High School. Because of my extracurricular activities, even though it was eons ago, I still consider myself a Minuteman. And that's what makes the difference. And we are robbing these kids of this. We're putting them on computers with the hybrid models. They're at home 3 days a week, staring at screens with no involvement in their school. How are they going to have pride in it? They're not. My daughter stares at a screen and she doesn't understand how come her teacher is one person, but the person she has to listen to as a lecture is someone else. She has no sense of belonging right now. She's going to have that sense of belonging come February when she can play volleyball. That's what's going to make them proud in their school. And if we're robbing them of that chance, shame on us. I'm done.
We provided families with academic choices. For families that wanted in-person learning, we had the hybrid. For those that were not comfortable sending their students to school because of COVID, we provided them Bedford Connects as an option. The fundamental point here is that the family made the decision on what academic option they chose for their student. We need to provide the families the same athletic choice. There are going to be families out there that are not comfortable having their students compete. I get it, I respect it. There are going to be those families that will allow, the majority, will allow their students to participate in team sports, competitive team sports. But that's the family's choice. It's not the business of this board to sit here and act in loco parentis and make the decision for those families. That's what our country's about. And I'm having a difficult time getting my brain around. I do understand the safety concerns, but the state of Virginia says competitive sports are okay. Virginia High School League says that competitive sports are okay. Seminole District says competitive sports are okay, and they can be done safely with mitigation. So again, I'm understanding the concern. I'm not getting my brain around why there's so much resistance to this, because the state of Virginia has not shut down sports. The state of Virginia shut down sports last spring. And if the state of Virginia did not think that sports were safe to be played with mitigation, they would have shut it down this year and in 2021. So we need to let the families make the decision on whether or not their students participate. I mean, you know, we've got a unique opportunity here. The Seminole District is allowing competition. Blue Ridge District is not. We're in a position to ensure that not only Liberty High School, Jefferson Forest teams get to participate and compete, but we've got an opportunity for Stanton River to compete as well. And I think it's unfair of us to take that away from not only them, but any school in the division. So, I mean, I'm a parent also. My son had a pretty significant knee injury that required reconstruction. He was looking for, he graduated, he's class 2020. God bless him. He came out with a bionic knee, $6 million man knee, and he was looking forward to his senior year playing soccer. That was taken away from him by the circumstances under which we found ourselves. And I know how I felt as a parent. I got to see him play one scrimmage against William Byrd. And that kid was, he was playing defense prior to his knee surgery. And he was out there flying around like he had a jet on his back. And I'm like, who is this kid and why is a defensive player playing up on front line? Well, his performance had improved to the point to where he played up front. And he was looking forward to that because he knew that that was very likely going to be his last opportunity to play for a school, to experience that level of camaraderie, that level of brotherhood that you get by participating on a sports team. And I don't want the class of 2021 on down, I don't want those kids to have to experience that, and I'll use the word, it was, despair. And we're in a position to prevent that. This can be done safely. If this could not be done safely, I guarantee you that the state of Virginia would shut down competitive sports in a heartbeat. They have not done that. So why should we? That's all I got to say. Anybody else? Ms. Kirby?
And something else that hit me. Of course, I have a lot of friends in the athletic field. And I had someone reach out to me and came up with a good suggestion. See, I think we were quick that night to say, let's go with this matrix and move on because we've got other things we've got to cover. We didn't exercise any options. If we're worried about the cross-contamination, why don't we let the kids play sports, then figure out to where all of our athletes can be in the same pod together to where they're not intermingling with the general population, if that's what everybody's worried about. And Dr. Francis, the VHSL standards, the new guidelines, when we said something, there isn't much else that you can do other than what's required. I mean, right now, you've been in athletics a long, long time. These guidelines are a lot stricter than what they used to be, correct?
Oh, yes, they're very much stricter. I guess with all the cleaning protocols, even with the ADs, we met and we went and developed some protocols for us to compete and above and beyond what the VHSL did. So, yes, the protocols, the cleaning protocols, all of that's addressed and so forth. And, even down to, students, athletes wearing masks, during non-competition, so that you're really limiting, other than the actual competition, students would still be socially distanced and they would be wearing a mask. The only time they would not would be when they were actually competing on the floor, like with basketball, or if they were swimming or something like that. That's really the only time that a student athlete would ever have their mask off, would be when they're actually competing.
And Ms. Mattson, I'm sorry to put you on the spot. Are any of your coaches at all disgruntled with having to go above and beyond, or are they happily doing this to make sure their kids can play?
No, they're more than willing to do whatever the board requires us to do.
Thank you. I think we need to re-examine it. We need to let these kids play and come up with another alternative. If we need some extra security in our minds because of our own fears that we're putting on other people, then so be it. But we need to let these kids play and come up with another alternative to handle it.
Mr. Johnson?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I know 1 week ago tonight, we spent 90 minutes in this room debating this very topic. And we did what some people apparently in the parent survey thought was impossible. The board that can't agree on anything came to unanimous agreement on a science-based metric that's data-driven, that gives our principals and our ADs clear guidance as to when it is or is not safe to proceed. It prioritized the safety of our student athletes, but not just our student athletes, also our coaches, our bus drivers, our custodians, the support staff that are expected to enact these mitigation strategies that Dr. Francis and the ADs and the VHSL developed. And it provided equal rules for all 3 high schools. We often hear about how every school needs the exact same of everything. This metric provided the fact that Stanton River would not be playing at a different level or a different set of standards than JF or Liberty. Could get extra games is not the same as will get extra games. We don't know. And so I think it's important that we trust ourselves, trust the decision that we made last week. Let's give the metric more than a week to see where those numbers go. Not right now doesn't mean not ever. And I'm certainly open to, reviewing this data periodically and seeing where are the numbers now? Where are the trends moving? Is it safe to re-examine this? In the meantime, kids are still practicing sports. I know a number of my friends have children who have made the team and they're excited. They're excited that they can continue to work with their coaches and their teammates and be out there. I know when I was in marching band, it's not quite the same, obviously, but I enjoyed practices more than I enjoyed competitions because you got to be with your friends, you got to do what you love, and you got to refine your skills. So sports are still continuing, and like I said, maybe competition will be permitted down the road. But for now, what I think we need to do, and I hear what everyone is saying and absolutely agree, kids need the extracurriculars to feel at home. The school, that's part of what makes the school experience what it is. Let's keep the practices going. Let's keep the interaction and the mentorship with our coaches going. And then as a community, not Forest versus Southside versus Bedford, but Forest, Southside, and Bedford. Let's pull together and let's do what we need to do so that the kids of Bedford County can do what they want to do. That's all that the metric is requiring. Let's give it a chance.
Mr. Hill?
Mr. Johnson, I think we've heard from the community. I'm not sure if you're familiar with this signatures,
Petition
petitions that's going around. There's over 1,000 signatures from community members and athletes. So I think they're telling us they want to play and that it should be their choice. So I'll just leave it. And I heard what you said, but I think that's the difference, is our community is telling us they don't like the decision that we made last week, hence the reason why we're here. And unfortunately, it's a tough decision, but our students want to play and they want to compete. That's why they train. They want to compete. And as I said earlier, a good number of our students are going to compete. Some of our students can't afford to do travel, and can't travel back and forth and out of states, those are the kids that are not gonna get that competition. And I think we've all sat around this table, and I know we've had discussions that when we make decisions, it should be for every single Bedford County student. And so those students who want to compete, that are not gonna be able to compete because they can't do travel, shame on us.
Any other discussion? Okay, we got a motion, I'll read it again if you'd like. Motion to allow Bedford County Public Schools sports teams to compete under the state of Virginia, Virginia High School League and Seminole District COVID-19 guidelines without regard to the CDC's table of indicators and thresholds. We have a motion, we have a second. There's been no further discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
No.
No.
Ms. Johnson, please poll the board.
Ms. Hairston?
No.
Dr. Hicks?
No.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
No.
Mrs. Kirby?
Yes.
Mr. Leamy?
Yes.
Dr. Mealy?
No.
You have 4 noes and 3 ayes.
Motion fails. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Kirby, second.
Second.
Second, Mr. Hill. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned.